Oh, what a...
You look good. I look terrible. Good morning, everybody. Now, the reason I look particularly terrible today
You don't
is...
look terrible. You
I
just
just...
look...
No, but look at the state of me. There could be birds living in this hair. It's just... I just can't be arsed. I just literally couldn't be arsed this much. I'm coming round now, but I felt, honestly, like I was in a thick black cloud when I woke up this morning. And I literally, you know what came into my head? That old Boomtown Rat song. I know like Mondays.
It's about a serial killer, isn't it?
Well, it is, but it's also about Mondays. But so I put it up on my Instagram. Did you see my post on Instagram?
No, I didn't.
Because I never post in the morning, but I felt so strongly. But I can't do today. It was like, what am I going to do? Oh, and then I was so grateful that we are self-employed and I can actually dress how, if it was on a TV channel now, I'd be tarted up to the nines. I'd be,
You look like you were made of plastic.
I'd be smiling through whatever I felt. But here on our own channel, we can be however we want. And you prefer it that way anyway, don't you? I mean, do you really like people tarted up to the nines in the morning to make you feel shit?
Well, you know that none of them are being authentic.
Well, it's not that.
It's
It's
true.
just like, well, none of us look like that in real life.
It's just a load of old hogwash. Guys, how was your weekend? I have to say, I managed to have a moment yesterday where I stepped back from the channel for 4 hours and went to see a film with Maddie. It was all lovely. And when I got back, there were so many comments. I loved the content that went out this weekend on the channel. There was stuff for film lovers with the Weekly Rushes. There was a fabulous live cookery show with Nadia and her sister. Just
You did a great poached egg.
chaotic, wonderful food, brilliant interaction, relationship. You know, you don't understand how hard it is to cook anyway, but to cook with a camera going and all that kind of stuff. It's very tricky, and you're both naturals. I think the way Dina and you interact is just a wonderful dynamic.
You. I mean, it's like you. That's the other brilliant thing about having your own channel is you can literally discover talent. I mean, to get a chance on television and as a new presenter it's very difficult. And yet, who would have thought you would be so great, and Dina's so great, and it's lovely for me because then I've got.
But then also there's your dad and there's your my mum and
Lisa and Lee, all these amazingly talented people.
Got a treat from Lee. I got a message from him last night and a link. Got a treat from Lee coming up in this weekend's Sunday show, guys. In the No Name Sunday show.
Can I just say there was a huge amount of you on Instagram that voted how to cook the perfect poached egg. And every Saturday in the Curly Cooks, Mark does something that is stumps most people, you know, whether it be a sauce or whatever. And watch the Curly Cooks to see how well or not he did.
But I just want to say alongside that, and this is what I loved about the channel, for our family guests, I have to say, if I say so myself, I thought it was an absolutely beyond smooth example, the No Name Sunday show, of everyone's kind of personalities, some lovely food, funny stuff in terms of funny shit, a bit of literature for the people who want to sort of, you know, go into sort of something a bit more intellectual. There was you and Dina shopping in the shops. It just, as a watch, because obviously I edited it, it just felt cozy and it felt warm. So I just thought for a moment this weekend, I just thought, give ourselves a pat on the back and go, oh, what nice content. I kind of enjoyed it. And I just felt, we put a lot of care into it and I felt it this weekend a lot.
I'm so glad you're able to say that. You always run yourself down. Good for you.
Fucking hell, I'm exhausted.
Now listen, it's not a secret.
I can't ever do that again.
It's not a secret because everyone's saying they poached the egg the way Mark did and it was perfect. So if you want to know how to cook the perfect egg, and it's the easiest way to cook the perfect poached egg, go to the Curly Cooks.
Oh, look.
Because then Mark's now saying, oh, I'm going to cook poached eggs all the time.
Well, if it's just dropping it in the water.
Because there's it's not just dropping it in the water, is it? Go there and see how to do it. Because don't just drop a egg in water because it won't work.
No.
But there's a lot of faff that you're told about poached egg. We are going to get onto the news in a minute, but we just thought we'd talk about eggs first.
Look, Ellen, loved this weekend's content. No time for the actual weekend. It
was just
nice. Yeah, no, I just thought, I was just proud of it, and I hope you all enjoyed it anyway. So lots of lovely comments coming in. But a big big well done to you and Dina. I really like the energy of the Curly Cooks. I think it's
Thanks,
great.
baby.
Yeah, that's all right. Apart from that, I feel fucking devastated and depressed.
Well, I didn't. It wasn't so much I felt depressed this morning. I felt unable to function.
Yeah, I didn't feel as
In
immobilised
any
as
way
you.
whatsoever. Like Mark kept saying, what do you mean? And I kept saying, I don't know. I said, when I say my brain isn't working, I mean, it really isn't working. And as I was just saying over on Instagram, you know, over the last week or so, everybody I've spoken to has gone, oh, I just feel so, oh, I don't know what it is. And I thought, oh, it's this mid-January thing that comes in for everybody, and it's really easy to lose sight and just feel that it's going to go on forever, this feeling. Now, obviously, if you are suffering with, you know, depression as such, clinical depression, that's a very different thing. But there is such a thing as January blues. Because I always get it around this time, and I think it's down to so many things. It's the energy and the money and everything that we spend in the run up to Christmas. And then after Christmas, it's the reconnecting with people and tidying up your house and getting it all back together. Then all the bills start to come in and all of that. And then there's not anything much to look forward to. You've got the bad news of the weather coming. You've got February coming. And you can just feel really flat.
You know what I think? I think culturally and societally and all the rest of it, we have been over the years encouraged too much to view January as a new beginning, a new start, a restart.
Which I feel it is as well.
Yeah, hang on. And New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff. And I think that we are encouraged, I think that, I hate to say it, it's the kind of thing like broken record. I think that's become, if not commercialized, it's become sort of standardized, that's how we should think. I mean, lots more people now than when I was younger say, oh, I'm not making any New Year's resolutions. But even in saying, oh, I'm not making any New Year's resolutions, there's a kind of defeatist kind of idea baked into that of saying I'm throwing in the towel before anyone asks me because I know I'm not going to be able to keep them. And I think the pressure of that invariably leads to us making ourselves fall short. It's a little, in microcosm or macrocosm, it's like saying I need to aspire to some kind of perfection. Even if it's in a limited area that you say, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. I mean, for example, I vowed to stick to, bizarrely, because Joe Wicks's eating plan. I have done for 2 weeks. I had a huge wobble last night. I was literally, my hand could have gone out and grabbed something. And it's something as small as that. Now, everything is hard to maintain in this life. You know, every consistency is really hard to maintain. And so I think that's why by this day of the year, I think lots of people have fallen at various hurdles.
And I think, you know, we do know that consistency is key. That's why I'm very against doing big statements. I'm not drinking anything in January. I'm not eating any fat. I'm counting my calories. I'm going to work out every day. Because I think you do set yourself up for failure because it's too much in a month that is so difficult because of the light, because of the drop in serotonin, all these things. So what I always say is, if you have put yourself on some new plan, whatever that is, whether it's through consistency or whether it's more extreme, you know, just because you don't feel like it one day doesn't mean you have to throw the towel in with everything. It's like me, I'm trying really hard to think much more gut health, and I've been being amazing in like really varied diet and everything. And then the other day I just wanted peanut butter sandwiches. Now the old me would have gone, oh, well, that's it. I've mucked it all up. It's not. I really wanted peanut butter sandwiches and I had those and it was delicious. And the next day I just got back onto just this thing that is for life.
Yeah.
But, and in fact, I think at this point, if you're feeling really low in this week, the very worst thing is to throw the complete towel in whatever, but to reevaluate it and go, so say for instance, you've started the boiled egg and grapefruit diet and you're collapsing today and you're just going, I can't fucking do it anymore. Just try saying to yourself, okay, I made a start with something that was quite extreme. It's not working for me now. What do I actually want? I want to feel better. I want to be healthier. I'd like to drop a few pounds. And now move into something that's more doable and more consistent and more possible. If you just go, oh, I can't bear to go out for a run today because I gave myself this goal to go out 5 days a week. Say to yourself, that was quite extreme. It's put me on a path where maybe now I'll go twice a week. And don't give it all up and have that. I think a lot of why people feel so bad at this time is they feel that I'm failing in that massive promise I made myself. Apparently, Blue Monday comes from, it's an American saying, and it comes from literature in the 1830s. And it came about after Labor Day when people had a hangover.
Right.
So it became, and then blue, because blue is associated with feeling down. So that's where it comes from. So it is, of course, it is a construct, but there are actually things that are going on in lowered serotonin. So things you eat like dark chocolate, Brazil nuts, turkey, chicken, all these things help that lift up your serotonin will actually help your mood. So look that up, what increases my serotonin, and then, you know, and just, it's like today we said, okay, I feel a bit flat today. That's all right. It will pass.
I think it's really important. I mean, I was saying to Nadia over the weekend, I was doing a run here or there in the car, and I pulled up and I had to sob uncontrollably. I felt suddenly devastated. I mean, I must have been having some kind of micro bipolar moment. But I just sat with it and I felt desperately sad, desperately down. And it wasn't that just went, but the intensity of everything has to subside. It has
does.
to. I mean, it has to.
And when Mark says a
At some
bipolar
point.
moment, just for new people who might think it's just casually thrown, he does actually have bipolar too. Because, you know, sometimes people think, oh, I can't just say that. People with bipolar, he does have bipolar. But that was a real moment this morning when you said that to me, when you said that you got really upset and you just let yourself do it and you just let it out, because that is, we're carrying around so much pressure. You know, let it out. How can I just valve? Somebody there, is it Sarah's waiting to take her puppy out for a walk because walking helps? It sure does. Like, we have promised ourselves 5 million times that we're going to do a walk first thing every morning. We haven't managed it, have we? But we know it works. But rather than going, oh my God, how shit are we haven't done it, say, we know it works and we're going to get back onto it. It's just that being kinder to yourself, I think.
Just going to read a few comments out. Erin Bullimore, we should go back to pagan tradition where they celebrate for 40 days, 20 in the run-up to winter solstice and 20 after, because no one wants to do anything much in the dead middle of winter. Katie Travers, I woke up earlier today and had a less stressful morning, got the kids to school earlier than last week. Blue is my favourite colour. A couple of people saying what a great song by New Order. Blue Monday is, for me, was my gateway song into electronica music. It really was. It was such a great moment when that came out. Zoe, you're saying that you had a similar moment. That happened to me yesterday. I just burst into tears. Didn't know why, but I always remind myself how well I'm doing.
Do you know another thing? You know, in the Danes use something called hygge because of the low light, and it's about bringing light and warmth into your home. So Mark gets really annoyed with me, but I put on loads of candles at about 5 o'clock.
And when she's not here, I turn them off.
I just use the you know, what are they called? Battery ones.
The
And oh my God, I immediately feel better. It's like, oh, now I'm just going to go into a cozy place. So it's just about being cozy, you know, not thinking I'm going to run out and I'm going to drink more and I'm going to spend more and I'm going to go out, but try and, like, I think it's like try and nest a bit, actually.
Well, look, let's go through. There's an article here in The Independent, which we're going to go through, which gives you 6 ways to make January less blue on this day. But I just want to read something that dear Tori sent to me today, and I was
Hi,
like,
Tori.
as if things could get any worse. Tori, she's Scorpio. Tomorrow we enter the first dark moon of the year, and with the moon in the watery depths of Scorpio, it's going to be powerful and possibly emotional.
Well,
If I know
we've got to go with that.
if I know Scorpio sort of dynamics, it's going to be
Michelle.
more emotional than, what was the other word?
Our friend Michelle as well.
It's going to be more emotional than, it's going to be, more emotional than powerful, possibly.
But maybe it's going to be both. Tomorrow I'm going to do yoga, and actually my yoga teacher Rachel is doing special offers, and she's doing a free yoga class this Sunday at Rachel Spain Yoga. She's amazing. I did yoga with her on Sunday, and it really recalibrated me. And Tuesday morning she does one. So I might sit, it might be one of those yoga lessons where I sit with just crying my eyes.
Yeah.
Won't it be weird if that happens
Yeah, won't
tomorrow?
it? Yeah. I mean, the moon really affects this house. A full moon is a really big moment
Of course
in
it
this
does.
house.
It affects the I mean, it brings the tide in and
I do a
out. So
run.
it's going to have, we're 80%
It
water.
affects the water on the brain. 6 ways to make January less blue. Should we run through them and see if any of us are doing any of them and feel completely insufficient and substandard by the end? 1, start a new hobby.
Well, Do you know what I've really got into recently?
What's that, babe?
I was helping a friend of mine's daughter with something. She was a bit panicked. And I had to do a bit of sewing. Do you know what? I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
And I said to Dina, why don't we do a sewing course?
Oh, wow.
I really, really enjoyed it. I need something that I do.
Oh, was that the day you said nothing for virtually 4 hours?
Yeah.
It was so peaceful.
But I think also because of my ADHD, I've always found it very hard to stick to stuff. So I really want to try now to see if I can stick to stuff. I found that little embroidery thing down there. So in a way, I am doing that.
I remember as a kid, I mean, it's curious. I wonder why I stopped. My nan used to get me the, what are they, like little mini tapestries, but they would have, it's like painted by numbers.
Yes.
They would already have like Bambi on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my level. I'm not doing anything better than that.
I used to like that as a kid.
Yeah,
Why did I like that?
it's just, and the thing is, it's like I said to Dina, don't have to show it to anyone. It's not about being brilliant, but it is just that, so unique.
So you sew in such a unique fashion. Where are you? Where have you gone?
We're so unique.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
There
We're
you
talking
go.
about sewing.
Sewing.
We're just talking about sewing. So yes.
But what happened with your apron, Christmas apron?
Yes. I could do that because I never did it, and then I've got it ready for Christmas.
Yeah, you could. Start a new hobby. I'm trying to think. You see, I love drawing and I love painting. I did that. I mean,
She's amazing.
I really like doing it,
not
and part of me wants to. It's finding the time to do a course. I don't know.
Why don't you not do a course? Why don't you
that's a
just
good
start
idea.
drawing and
just do it.
painting?
Yeah.
Because I think, it was like Lee was saying the other day, wasn't he? He said you should join the chess online. I think something for you, you'll have to do something. You're never going to sit there and go but something that takes you away from.
I can't at all. Stretch like an animal.
That's yoga. I'm doing that. Blimey, I've done both feet so far. Downward dog. Downward. That's an animal does do that. No, Mark, you're going to do something. Don't. You're going to pull something. Mark. Oh, God. Here we go. His back's going to go.
Okay. So I've done that.
Don't suddenly jump up and stretch from a seated position. That's how you get an injury. You're going to be injured now.
Okay. Stretch like anyone stretching? Anyone? Can we just ask before we just trot through everything? We're going to do fewer stories so we can talk more. Has anyone started a new hobby? So unique, sewing is so therapeutic. Anne Murray, I like this. I must be on a different planet. I don't feel any different than last month or last year. I feel lucky. That's good. They're all arbitrary, these dates.
This is just, are you feeling this way? Diamond painting. A lot of people do painting and sewing.
Ellie Denning, every evening me and my little boy turn TV, iPad off and just draw. Good for us both.
Nice.
Liz Skinner, I colour adult colouring books for my depression and anxiety.
Well, they really took off, didn't they, those? Yeah. Because, I'm an absolute believer in that, especially for anxiety. I mean, Kiki's art, she just, it's so therapeutic, isn't it? You see, she just goes up and spends hours and hours.
I like this, Silkani. I did a study where you do a piece of creative writing every day as a kind of therapy to help with anxiety and BFRB. I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
there you
great.
go.
Yeah.
Again, you don't have to show it to anyone. Just write a stream of consciousness. Just get it out of your head. Okay,
So
what's
straight,
next?
I demonstrate that. Create healthy boundaries. Fall in love with limits. Limits often get a bad rap, but instead of thinking of them as restrictive, reframe them as containers. When we are able to set boundaries and keep them, we free ourselves up, live with balance, spending time on all the things that matter, not just the most demanding things.
Well, I think that's a bit confusing because she's saying fall in love, but just in relationships generally, if you're feeling overwhelmed by January, like for instance, going out, if you don't want to go out in January, just say to whoever is saying to you, do you know what, I just feel overwhelmed. I'm just like, all the bills have come in, I'm not coming out, I'm just snuggling in. Because, but we find it really hard to say no. So many of us, don't we? It's so hard.
And you can do it in a. I mean,
really
I'm
nice
awful.
way.
I'm awful at it. But I mean, drawing back. I think something that puts real stress in January is the way in which relationships have a magnifying glass placed over them over the Christmas period. That magnifying glass can happen whether you're with people or whether you don't see people that are close to you or you're not with people. And that magnifying glass can intensify those relationships. And I think sometimes coming out of Christmas, it's okay with even those that you're related to or are close friends with to reset and to say, do you know what? I just need a cool off situation here or put a boundary in place because
I was talking to our daughters
even
yesterday.
kids benefit from boundaries.
I was talking to the girls yesterday and I said, God, you're so... I mean, I think teenagers have a horrendous time. I think life is really fucking weird for teenagers at the moment. But I said, some of the things that you have access to now, me and your dad would have been, oh my God, would have been so useful to us. Like, nobody ever said to me, you can say to somebody you're overwhelmed. It wasn't a thing. So I would just lie, I would just pretend I would drink like a nutter to just be able to stay with the program kind of thing. But also this social battery thing, I love it. A social battery. And I use that all the time with the girls. I go, well, how's your social battery? They say, oh, I'm going to this thing. I said, yeah, but how's that? Do you actually really want to go? Because if you do, we'll do everything to help you go. But if you don't be thinking about things you can make up to say to your friends. Just tell the truth. Just say, I haven't got the social battery. I went out last weekend and I felt I was tired all week at school. Nobody had those conversations with us in our generation.
Not at all.
We didn't know how to say that. You thought you just had to lie to get out of something.
Yeah, I mean, they used to think it used to be things like, "Why are you moping around?"
Yeah.
Or,
you're just recharging.
"Why are you being so wet?" That's really stuck with me. My nan's phrase. Reese Roberts. I went out this weekend, just gone as my first outing of the year, and it was fun but exhausting.
Yeah. So Reese, you know, nowadays people would say, well, what, just hibernate for it. You don't have to go out next week as well. But the pressure when we were growing up was you have to go to everything, or you have to lie.
Anne Murray, take a minute to look around you. Very important. I often say to the guy, I worked with a guy called Jonathan Foyle years ago, who's an architectural historian. And he specialises in cathedrals. He's great.
Probably might know him from the telly.
Yeah, and we were walking around. Where was it? I did that half marathon. Was it Sandwich? No, not Sandwich. Anyway, it's on the south coast near my nan's. And we were walking around, and he said, just for the next 30 minutes, walk around, looking up. I mean, obviously not when you're crossing the road and all that kind of stuff. And he said, just look up. And he said, you will experience an entirely different location. And I did it. And every now and then I do it in London. If I'm walking through a part of London, I look up and you see, not only do you see stuff, but it just, I don't know, it just jazzes up
I think
what you're
it's a
seeing.
really good thing you said there, because especially in the city, we tend to put our head down and just
head
walk.
down and burrow.
And just walk. And the thing is, about 5 years ago, I went away with a group of the loose women to this place in Ibiza. And one of the things that we had to do, it was like a health farm thing. And one of the things we had to do was this walk where we walked in silence. The group walked in silence through this amazing forest. And I still talk about that today. The fact that I was just looking and listening, it's like, but I've never done it since. All I've got to do is go out the door and do it.
Yeah.
Like, we should do what we should do
But you
sometimes,
feel
our
like-
walks in total silence, and just say, let's just look at everything.
Yeah, sometimes we fall foul of, unless you're impelled or compelled to do something, you won't
You don't do
it.
it.
You don't do it for yourself.
So thank you for reminding me of that.
We're just going to rattle.
Shut the fuck up, Nadia, and just walk.
I'm just going to
And have
rattle.
a look round.
Just going to rattle through the last few because we want to talk about ADHD as well. Steer clear of the comparison trap. Focus on thriving, not striving. Again, I think that ties into the whole January thing. How am I doing with my New Year's resolutions and my progress versus that person?
Unfollow every single person where you feel hollow
Intimidated.
after you've seen their posts. Hollow is not a good feeling.
And remember, possibly the only thing my grandfather ever said to me was, you're always better than someone and you're always worse than someone else. And what he was saying by that was, you're always in the middle. You're always in the middle. You're never going to be the best and you're never going to be the worst. You're always going to be in there alongside others. And it kind of helps you from feeling a total failure. Number 5, have a healthy relationship with the news. We try.
We can't do that.
We can't do that.
We have to watch all the
We
news.
go through it all. And
So, you know what? Every time I'm doing yoga and I'm having a really good yoga session where I'm connecting with breath and I'm thinking about, she's removed it, I get frightened because I have to change my whole life. And I'm so pulled to that life. But news and being engaged in it is our job. So it's,
I like this line about healthy relationship with the news. We talked a lot about this in lockdown, didn't we? Whether you're try to find a balance between being informed and not being overwhelmed.
Yeah, don't look for the nasty stories and then look for another one and then go through TikTok and then there's 100 awful the shootings and no,
I
that
think
is so toxic.
And I think on social media, sometimes just go to if you've seen one post, go to one post and try and resist going to the next suggested post.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. And then number 6 is limit screen time, which again for us is nigh on impossible. But yeah, if you can put your phone down or have sort of tech-free moments, that might help in these early days of January. In answer to someone asking, is the weather destined to get worse? I'm afraid it is. It's going to get colder this week and next,
So stay
but
in
not
whenever
so
you
much
can.
rain. There's not going to be so much rain. It's going to be sunny but cold. Okay, this other story. I think we'll have to drop the marriage one. This other story. Did ADHD hold me
We're
back?
going to talk about marriage tomorrow
Yeah,
instead because we
yeah.
haven't got time. It's the and the whole thing about a third of people surveyed regretted divorce.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
So it's a really good article. So we don't want to just rush it.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in more depth.
But we can not rush this, but we can talk about it without, because you've talked about it a lot. But this is a story about what it's like to be diagnosed in midlife. For anyone who doesn't realise, we've both been diagnosed with ADHD. Mine is slightly more complicated insofar as it's in conjunction with bipolar 2. So, but
And this article is about
yeah.
how it feels to be diagnosed in midlife. There was also an article, wasn't there, at the weekend saying that that people like me, I was named, and
Sue Perkins.
Sue Perkins have opened the floodgates, and so many people are asking to be diagnosed with ADHD. And what I worry about with that is it's a bit like with HRT. There are some unbelievably unpleasant articles written, and usually by female writers, I'm afraid to say, saying that this tsunami of people asking for HRT is debilitating the NHS. Literally fucking madness to say that. We know now all the other things that are attributed to the menopause. So just shut up. And just, it's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. What I don't want to happen with ADHD is that people start saying, first of all, nobody should ever say, oh, everyone's got a bit of ADHD. Some people have symptoms that are also symptoms of ADHD, but it doesn't mean you've got ADHD. ADHD means that the neurotransmitters and your dopamine is a bit fucked up. So it is, it's a chemical thing almost. And this article is actually really good because it talks about how, it's a big thing when you get diagnosed in midlife, isn't it? Because there is a sense, the more you learn about it and the more, it's very easy to slip in and just track back and say, what if?
Yeah.
Now 2/3 of people, and this is from my ADHD counsellor, 2/3 of people with ADHD will move into addictive lives. So that'd be food, sex, drugs, whatever. And so it's really important that we talk about it a lot so people can be diagnosed earlier. I think now, and Mark, psychiatrist, said it, he may not have become an alcoholic if he'd got the treatment earlier. So awareness and talking about this, if people aren't interested in it, don't listen. But for so many people, this is so important.
I think just because something's being discovered to be more prevalent doesn't diminish the severity or the implications of it. Something else I would like also to kind of knock on one thing that this article says, it's in the Times, it talks about Johnny Vegas, but a sort of myth that I'd like to puncture is this idea that, they refer again here to old school reports. This is the classic sort of conventional sort of giveaway signs of ADHD: prone to interrupting, poor presentation, great difficulty concentrating, easily distracted, class clown, and all of that. Of course, that is one aspect of it, but I do sometimes worry around the ADHD diagnosis and the kind of traits around this, that it only ever really focuses on the hyperactive physicality and impact. And I've discovered that for me, and I would say for some of our kids, there's so much ADHD activity within the head, within the heart, and within stress. For some people, they go still. Very still.
A friend of mine, of ours, daughter, has just been diagnosed, and she's the stillest person ever. But it's the hyperactivity of her brain.
Of the mind, yeah.
And our friend was saying, she came around the other day for a coffee, she was saying that she just cannot believe the change in her daughter. She said it is so shocking now with the diagnosis and the treatment she's having, that she's gone from a child that says, I can't do anything and I'm stupid and I'm this and I'm that, to somebody that is now working and is focused. And because the part of the brain that works executive thinking doesn't work in the same way. And the reason why there's so much addiction within ADHD is because everything that you can do to access, the way I understand it, of course, I'm just a TV presenter, you'd have to look this up with proper doctors, but the way I've been made to understand it by people who've looked after me with this is that we try to get a dopamine hit in whatever way we can, whether that's overeating, over-exercising, doing whatever, because the brain literally needs it to be able to work beyond the stuff that you can hyper-focus on. So if this is the way that the tide is going to go, if people are going to start like they did with HRT, trying to make you feel bad, if you feel that you might want to investigate your own brain, fuck 'em. Don't let anyone tell you everybody's got ADHD. Like, to say everybody is autistic. All these things are very upsetting for the people that are actually trying to manage their, we're all a bit bipolar.
Yeah.
We're not.
Someone somewhere says, I think I'm ADHD and I'm a very still person, but racing thoughts. I mean, one of the things that I find with the whole bipolar and ADHD thing is when I go into a manic episode, the two definitely conflate.
Very difficult for you.
So an up manic stage, I literally see the looks pass between all of you in the house. It's like, right, Dad's going there. It's stupidity. It's silliness.
But we go
it's
with it
everything.
now, it's
yeah,
fun.
you go with it, and it's fun, and it makes people laugh.
It's also
It's
your
sometimes
character.
I sometimes trigger it because I'm being silly for the channel or whatever, and then you probably I drive you guys mad too. But then the converse of that is that when you are hitting a down point and you're exhausted, so you're hitting a down point because of the cyclical nature of bipolar, and you're hitting an exhausted spot because of the ADHD. And again, as I say, that exhaustion doesn't just come from physicality, though more obviously it does. It comes from the incessant thinking, inability to stop the thinking, the constant sense of starting, not finishing, distraction, finishing, all that kind of stuff. You are poleaxed by two things.
They describe it as a Ferrari brain with bicycle brakes. And, the thing is, yes, it's Johnny Vegas. Can you just get that article up again, babe? Just want to say, he talks about, and I think this is a really important thing. Yes, when you get a diagnosis, you're going to look, and I talk about that on my video. We've got a playlist on ADHD. I talk about it, I think, on my last one, where I'm trying not to go back and I'm trying to forgive myself for some of the stuff that I think is attached to ADHD. I'm trying to look for what are the good bits about having ADHD, but it's really easy to slip into this thing of, your superpowers and it's very frustrating. Somebody was saying to me that her daughter is really struggling at school, really hates it when people say it's a superpower, because she says it's not a fucking superpower, it's a fucking nightmare for me. Just where was that line where I thought it was so good what he said about, sorry, Johnny. He says something about it's not a superpower. Everything I've done, I've managed to... I do it in spite of. It's not because I've got superpowers. And and also this psychologist, it might not be him, it's different people talking, that we really have to watch that as well when saying,
I think if you're creatively, if you're of a creative bent, I do think one of the benefits of the ADHD sort of mind is that you end up throwing like 16 ideas at the wall. The completion of those 16 ideas, any one of those 16 ideas can be completely hijacked and poleaxed by all the 15 other ideas, because you can shift from one to another, to another, to another, to another. I think one of the benefits from it is out of those 16 ideas, a couple of them are going to be really good. And because you're generating so much, it's like generating content, or it's like generating ideas for programs and all that sort of stuff. When I think back to the amount of genres we were stretched across and the amount of programs we were, and you kind of, there is a benefit to it, because it's like your productivity levels are so high, but your execution levels are constantly getting hampered. And yet at the same time, I would argue that a lot of the kind of ideas or programs or films or pieces of written work, when I look at all of that stuff, I wouldn't have got the ones that have been successful or that I think are good done if it wasn't for this ADHD brain.
But what you do is you do everything at the seat of your pants. An ADHD person will wait till there's an absolute deadline. It's at great cost because I think your talent is there anyway, but it's about getting it done. But anyway, it is a continuing conversation. Why we've put this at the end is in case for people who won't be interested in ADHD, but it is a conversation we don't want to shut up about because we feel very much the way it's impacted on our lives. It's funny that we both have it because apparently often ADHD people are drawn to each other because on subconscious level they know nobody else will be able to put up with it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
We go, oh, that's a load of hoarding over there. Oh, well, there's all my hoarding. Oh, that's a terrible mess. Look at my terrible mess.
Someone keeps asking, is the Kit Kat Club worth going to? It's quite expensive. What is the Kit Kat Club?
I've never been.
What is the Kit Kat Club?
Has anyone been to the Kit
I
Kat
don't know what
Club?
the Kit Kat
Never
Club
been.
is. Deborah Holdsworth, you're getting me through January as my dad is really ill. Oh no, and I come home and watch you and have a laugh. Oh, sweetie, sending you.
Well, and that is the thing to remember. I think not everybody realises that we do post this after, so it's there all day. It's there forever. Every live is there forever. So.
Yeah. Please don't stop talking about this, Julie Everts, things like this. I've been in the Kit Kat Club in Berlin. What's it like, Nina? Is it good? What is it? What kind of a club is it? Mrs.
Thank you,
Sadie
Mrs.
C,
Lots of people saying
you
don't
shouldn't shut up about it. Never stop talking about it. Okay, guys. Well, look, have a lovely day. Not entirely sure if anything's landing on the channel later, but if it does, I hope you enjoy
That's my
it.
second ADHD film.
Yeah, they've all gone out.
So, guys, check out the playlist where I keep them really short, between 8 and 11 minutes maximum. Because I know that with ADHD you can get bored really easily, but somebody messaged the other day said, I haven't got ADHD, it's really annoying there's only 8 minutes because I'm finding it really interesting. So so we go from my diagnosis through to the medication and on.
Oh, Pam Pionis is saying you went with Lee to see Cabaret. Is the Kit Kat Club in Cabaret?
Did I?
What?
Oh yeah, it was lovely.
So what is it?
I really loved it. Of course, it will very much depend on what you're seeing, but it's lovely little round tables and little lights and things. Well, it's like what it says. It's like an old-fashioned...
What was it? But what did you see there?
I saw Cabaret.
Oh, right.
Thank you.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did see Cabaret. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but the venue is amazing. Yeah.
There you go. You guys know better what we do and what we've done, which is
Sometimes when we can't remember something, we say, we'll ask the subs.
Yeah. Oh,
Hit the
guys.
subscribe button, the notification bell.